So now we are going to work with setting up our AWS environment, which for this we're going to need to use IAM. And basically what you start with is you have your root credentials, but we want to use best practices within the space. And so we're going to create a new user that will actually have access to the resources that we specifically assign them to do so. And that's because you want to have a minimum permission model. So now we're going to dive into IAM with AWS, which I'm really excited to share with you guys because this is really kind of what is the foundation for security in an AWS environment. So with this tool, we're really able to lock it down so that we can keep out bad actors, and we can also adopt a minimum permission model for our user. All right, so first things first, we are here about to create a policy, and let's go ahead and come up with a good name for that policy. So we'll just say minimum security model. And we've already given it full access to EC2 and full access to CloudWatch. However, we're not quite done with it just yet. We're also going to add access to S03. So for this, we have to grant it not only the actions that it can perform, but also the resources that it can interact with. And so one of the very beautiful things about what AWS gives us is a high degree of granularity in terms of breaking things apart. And so, for instance, you'll see bucket, job, and object. A bucket is kind of analogous to a folder. An object would be analogous to a file in a folder. So we're going to go ahead and say all resources because right now we're just concerned with giving kind of the overhead in terms of EC2, S3, CloudWatch actions, but in an actual production environment, you'd be very concerned with locking these things down. So that's something that you yourself can dive into on a deeper basis later. So we've got EC2, S3, and CloudWatch, and we're going to go ahead and review that policy. And so we pay very close attention here to our access level and our resources, and that's not pertinent right now, but we'll create policy. And let's see how this comes out. All right, so now we've created our policy, and what we can do is we can filter. This makes it a lot easier to manage your own personal policies because you want to separate those apart from the other policies just to be able to view them a little easier. So we filter to that, we have that there, and then we're going to use that information, that policy, to create a role. So we're going to set a group name here, and it's just got to be something that seems applicable to you. We're going to say DevOps Course 3. And now we're going to select our policy that we've created before, and we're going to apply that policy to our group. And then we have that policy added. So now we're going to go ahead and add our user. And for this user, I'm going to create access for myself. I'm going to give it programmatic access, and this is very important because this is going to give us our access key and our secret access key, and then AWS Management Console access, which will enable us to log into what we're logged into right now. So we're going to just let it do all of those things and hit our next step. And we have the capability of adding this user to a group, which we created in our previous step. So we're going to do that. And then we can create tags. So tags is something that we're just going to cover very briefly. But basically, you want to use tags to label things so that you know what those things are associated with. So we're going to say instructor, and we'll say DevOps Course 3. And then we'll say first name. So each of these will more be on the business model of whatever the company needs to associate with these objects. So we'll click on Create User. And now I am not going to let you guys look at that secret access key for obvious reasons. And we can now pull up this in a new window to be able to log in. So let's open that into an incognito window because we're logged in with our root access privileges. So now we're going to log in with our newly created user, and we have to use our old password that we've done with the creation of the user. And I strongly recommend that you create a new password and use a password manager. This is very important because this will prevent you from forgetting it later, and it'll also help you with increasing the complexity requirements. So for instance, you can set it to 20 characters and mix and match between uppercase and lowercase and letters and numbers and special characters. So now we're going to go ahead and log that in for ourselves. OK, so now we are here fully logged in with our new user, and we're going to get into setting up our EC2 instance in the next video.